In the hilly regions of Oltenia, we find a certain type of characteristic constructions, somehow unique in Romania, which are practically fortified mansions called Cula. The term Cula comes from the Turkish word kule, meaning a tower. It is obvious that they first had a military significance. The fortified mansions are specific to the 18th and 19th centuries and appeared as a natural need of protection. Basically, they were destined to be boyars' dwellings, built to protect their wealth and their family members' lives against the onslaughts of the Ottoman plunderers who came from south of the Danube, and also against the outlaws and other attackers in those troubled times when friends became enemies overnight. The specially built houses for defense, raised in strategic points, played practically the part of military fortifications, which increased the boyars' influence and offered them a military advantage in the frequent local conflicts. Besides being a home, the fortified mansion was a construction that protected its owner not only against outside dangers, but also against possible uprisings of their own servants on the estate. For this reason, the land around them was cleared so that attackers could be spotted easily from the distance. Fortified mansions are met exclusively in the hilly region of Oltenia, being characteristic constructions meant both for living and military defense. In time, the fortified mansions lost their defensive vocation, becoming for their owners the symbol of belonging to the class of great boyars. These small fortresses, located on some flowery glade or near the corner of a wood or at the foot of a hill, delight us both due to their fitting into the landscape and for their original and harmonious architecture. The fortified mansion of Cernatesti in its current form was built in the 18th century by the Cernatescu boyar family. In fact, the history of the place registered the fact that ever since the 14th century there was built a military construction here by the brave man Dimitrie Cernat at the special request of ruler Mircea the Old. The place being then mentioned in a document issued by Michael the Brave in 1597, where the name Cernatesti appears for the first time. Close to the fortified mansion is Petrache Cernatescu School, bearing the name of the initiator of the teaching process and the founder of the school in 1837. Generally, the fortified mansions had the shape of 2- or 3-floored towers with ramparts that offered the possibility of shooting in any part of the yard. They had thick walls supported on buttresses. The stairs to the upper floors could be fixed or mobile. The doors were made of massive wood. The cellar very solid, fortified with at least 1 meter thick walls, consolidated with beams. Although there were built fortified mansions in Serbia and Albania at the same time, those built here have a particular architectural characteristic, which also lends them a specific aesthetic quality, and that is the porch. The skillful popular craftsmen that built them knew how to embellish them with this singular architectural element, which, placed at the top floor, gives them grace and balances the whole facade. The porch of the Cernatesti mansion is made entirely of wood, placed in the console on the upper part of the facade. The porch railing is parted into equal openings separated by wooden poles. The very steep roof is made of wood covered with shingles. Access in the mansion was possible through a massive door, which, in case of assault, could be blocked from the inside with more beams. There are 2 entrances on the main facade a door with two massive oak folds towards the stairs going up to the first floor, and another one, equally massive and well locked, of the cellar with narrow ramparts. There are certain places inside the building which allow you to see outside without being noticed from there. The fortified mansion of Cernatesti is in a relatively good state, due to the restoration works carried out in the last 20 years, funded by the local administrations and donations made by the last descendants of the family that are living in Belgium. The last successor of the kindred of Cernatesti, Maria Ioana Cernatescu, donated the village museum and church large sums of money coming from selling paintings inherited from the family or signed by herself. The fortified mansion is currently a museum of popular art, following an initiative from 1972, being, at the same time, a historical monument that exhibits items of archaeological, historical and ethnographic interest. There are exhibited on the ground floor, which is practically the cellar, tools and old objects related to the main occupations of the inhabitants of the villages in the area, linked especially with agriculture. We can admire old traditional tools that are hundreds of years old, which were part of the everyday life of the peasant living in Oltenia. A place apart is held by the plough, perhaps the most valuable object of a household, and also many things connected with beekeeping, a traditional occupation in the region, rich in orchards and lawns full of flowers. The cellar is built of massive walls, supported by impressive oak beams. Climbing the wooden stairs and passing under the arched vault, we reach the first floor, where we can admire a wide range of objects linked to the social, cultural and spiritual life of the bourgeoisie in the last century, and especially to the Cernatescu family. The daily aspects of the society in that epoch are illustrated through the exhibits presented in this original museum. There are exhibited paintings, military kits, documents and old books. The museum was set up in 1972, following a local initiative of a committee that drafted the first official records, together with the guest's book. There are two interesting plaques representing testimonies about the setting up of the school in Cernatesti, together with the school cooperative during the kingdom since 1935. We can skim through some old books written in Slavonic, having generally religious subjects, edited at the middle of the 19th century. There are also some historic documents here, attesting this region, one issued by Michael the Brave in 1597 and another one by ruler Grigore Bibescu. There are weapons used in the conflicts of the time, military clothes, uniforms worn by the Cernatescus, a collection of coins and banknotes, writing instruments, all these carrying us into a disappeared world today, but remaining an important moral and historical landmark for the region. In this context, the family pedigree, together with a monographic album of the Cernatescu family, are practically the exhibits that pass throughout history over this road sprinkled with exceptional achievements. We can see in the photos and newspaper articles of the time the most important members of this family that gave Romania politicians, ministers, attorneys, officers, bankers, businessmen, world-known artists, all of them persons of an exceptional human value and an impeccable moral integrity. Passing to the second floor, the social and cultural register changes. The museum presents here everyday life aspects of the inhabitants in the region. There has been reconstructed minutely the interior of a peasant house with original objects donated by the villagers. The first room is the bedroom, where there is a bed with pillows. Then there are wall carpets and carpets with specific Oltenian motifs, home-cut clothes, various other embroidered fabrics and objects, and also a loom. The icons, which can't be missing from the bedroom, are painted in the traditional naive style, being a proof of the importance of faith and Christian customs in the daily life of the epoch. The second room is destined to cooking and serving food. The hearth where the fire was lit and bread was baked, various clay pots, the round table surrounded by a few stools, represent the daily landmarks of the inhabitants' existence in the region. Wooden objects such as spoons of different sizes and forms, clay and ceramic plates and bowls, jugs, irons, all these were found in a household of the last century, being just a few of the objects preserved carefully in this museum room. A remarkable view opens in front of our eyes when we step out into the porch. We can see the whole panorama of this area, but what seems to us to be an opportunity of admiring the surroundings and nature, it was a matter of great strategic importance in the past, this being the very place where any suspicious movement in the area was attentively watched from. The porch rounds up the building style of the mansion, borrowing the same elements of the arched vaults and wooden beams that bind the thick brick walls together. This monument succeeded in arousing the interest of those who passed over its threshold throughout time, and in impressing with its rich inheritance, which is the pride of the natives. And what more convincing proof can we offer in order to confirm the historic and cultural communion of the natives with the fortified mansion of Cernatesti than the ancient and unique custom named calling over the village. The custom is also called the small fires, as in the yard of the mansion and at every crossroad there are lit pyres of wood and straw. As soon as it gets dark, the youngsters of the village part into two groups. They climb the surrounding hills and call the girls' names. The lasses of the village hear their names called by the lads, some joyfully as they are to be married, some sadly because the whole village found out that they hadn't found their chosen one. For the latter ones, the lads put forward funny reasons. The calling over the village is an old custom that marks the moment of entering the Lent, when religious weddings are forbidden. This custom ends with a feast that lasts the whole night. The Altinian fortified mansions are an important and original part of our national, cultural and historic heritage, but very little capitalized. They are part of a today which tomorrow will be a distant yesterday. The basis of understanding history is made up of witnesses and proofs. What's important is people's reaction to these objects, the way they understand to preserve and understand them, the importance attached to them, and last but not least, our loyalty as a people to our own history. The content of this material does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union.